Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing, Helen? How are you doing, Angela?
Doing all right, doing good.
Looks like Jonathan and Angelo are connecting to audio. Ruby's here. Angel's connecting. Talked to Sharita last night. She said she'd be here. How are you doing, Jonathan? How are you, Angelo? How are you, Angel?
Hey,
Doing great. Happy Friday.
It's Friday,
Hello.
isn't it?
there it is.
We've made it this far.
Yes. Yes, we did.
Oh, whose dog is that?
That's mine. She is, I don't know. She wants to join.
He probably wants your attention.
She's looking right at me.
Yeah.
Angel, do you want me to try and put the agenda in the chat?
Yeah, if you can.
Okay.
Greatly appreciate it.
Sure. Give me a moment. Find where I put it.
Ugh. Mm. You see it?
Yep, I got it here. I'll put it in the agenda. One of the things I forgot to put on the agenda is we can talk about it under the other items. Get through the primary stuff first.
All right.
There we go. All right.
Sharita's
So-
still on vacation?
No, she said she was planning to join the call this morning. Although there was a family who showed up on her radar last night, a mom and 3 kids new to the area who are sleeping in their car. So she called me last night about 7
Uh-huh.
and said she was trying to get more information to figure out what's happening with them at 9 this morning. So she could be tied up there.
Okay. Do you know what
but-
area it was? What part of town?
She didn't know. Hold on. I think she said they were staying maybe in the Walgreens on Fayetteville. But I don't know,
Walgreens. Oh, okay. Yeah.
in the parking lot there in their car last night.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's, you know,
I wish she
one of
could have
those
told me.
things of trying to figure out, and we'll probably talk about it, policy and planning on Monday, is
Yeah.
the unsheltered family plan. And what kind of options we have for that.
All right. Sounds good.
Sent a policy and planning agenda?
What's that?
Have you sent the policy and planning?
Sorry, what'd you say, Hanalea?
Have you sent the policy and planning agenda? I haven't seen it.
No, Sharita and I started talking about it last night. And that's that was one of the things she wanted to talk about, is kind of what our options would be. And trying to figure out how many unsheltered homeless families are currently out there for the winter. Because that
Is
number,
that, is that due to the moratorium?
I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
what, according to Sharita, here's Sharita. Sorry, Sharita, I was just sharing that you have a new family who showed up on your radar last night, experiencing unsheltered homelessness and new to the area for a job.
I'm a little worried because she did not call this morning at 9 o'clock. I don't know what that means.
Could be any number of things. But, well, yeah, anyway, let's get on with executive committee. I do need to leave at 11 for another meeting, so hopefully we can move through our meeting. So, Madam Chair, Angel.
Good
would you like
morning.
to bring us to order.
Sure. Well, hello, everyone. I am back. I'm going to try to do this to the best of my ability. This is my first one doing, so feel free to help me, help you guys. So we're in order. So let's start.
Very good. Do we have, I can't remember, Angela, we may not have sent the minutes out, but that may be on me.
Do you have, okay, approve the minutes who, Dr. Angela? Is that who has the minutes, does the minutes? Or how does that work? Because first
So
thing.
Angela, yep,
minutes.
Angela, Angela, you're muted if.
Oh. Can you hear me now?
I think I forgot to send out the minutes. He sent them in, but they are in the chat box for everyone to see.
Okay. So do we want to?
You want to review them right quick or what?
We could do that, or we could, it's your choice, Angel. We can either try and review them now, or we can hold off and approve them, plus approve the October and November meeting minutes at December.
We can do that if that works. I'm not,
Okay,
Yeah, we could do that. We could approve the minutes at
We'll just-
December.
okay, we'll approve them at December. All right, we need to sort of look at our, set the agenda for the November HSAC meeting, not the October HSAC meeting. Apologize for that. And let me see if I can pull up the agenda planning template. I'm just going to share my screen here. And boom, there we go. Let's go. October, November, here we go.
November.
Yep, November 2021. When we've got a couple agenda items, but need to figure out what else we need to put on here. We had talked about doing a brief outline of what homeless prevention is versus what eviction prevention is. And we can either keep that on the agenda or we can punt it if you all don't feel it's needed or necessary.
Well, it's definitely needed.
Okay. So leave it on the agenda?
Yeah, well, how does anyone else feel about it? Because I mean, I don't want to be biased towards it, but it's definitely needed.
It's an interesting topic. I think, yeah, I think it's a good general education piece for us to do, particularly in terms of keeping all of our members up to date on the different types of services that our continuum of care provides. And I think it would help probably with understanding all those acronyms that we throw out: homelessness prevention, eviction prevention, definition of homelessness.
There was a conversation about y'all wanting data at some point pulled on how the lifting of the eviction moratorium was looking in terms of people entering homelessness. When did we decide that y'all wanted to pull that data? I can't remember. How long did y'all want to? Was it 3 months that we wanted to give? Was it the December meeting?
What is it? October, November, and December. So that would be 3.
Yeah, I just can't remember how long we said. And I remember that y'all wanted me to pull the data, but I can't remember when we were gonna put that on the agenda.
And that was to look,
Go ahead.
so that was to look at the eviction, like, are we seeing a spike in people? Help me refresh. The context was, are the evictions leading to an increase in homeless services? Is that what we're trying to be able to pull?
Well, I don't think
I mean, that's what I'm trying to.
homelessness, not homeless services, but I think that is the question that this board would like, or this committee would like to answer. I don't think that is a question that I can answer. What I can do is I can say whether there is a spike in homelessness during the period after the eviction moratorium was lifted. I can't say for sure whether, that was, I mean, I can look at causes of homelessness and whether more of the homelessness is coming from evictions. So I guess I could do that. So yes, I can't say 100% about causes, but yes, that is essentially what this group wanted to do. And I remember we had a conversation about presenting that data for the HSAC. I just don't remember when we said we wanted to pull that and do that.
Because I do recall the 3-month discussion. The question I guess I have is, the courts started processing evictions in October, is that right? Or did they start the processing in September?
I think it was actually in September because it was in September because it ended in August.
Okay. So by the time, so I guess what I'm trying to think through is, if I had a case heard in September, a sheriff would come to me in September or in October. I'm just trying to figure out where we would start seeing the calls coming, whether the calls would start coming more in September or more in October.
Well, the other consideration that we were thinking about was the fact that the landlords who took ERAP money had to agree. I think it was a 3-month. I think that was how we got to 3 months, because I think there was a 3-month agreement that they couldn't evict for that amount of time. So we were thinking that we would need 3 months to start seeing that hit the system if it does. I think, to be safe, it would probably be a good idea to wait till December to present. Also, it's a full COC meeting, and I think that would be a really good conversation to have with the full COC. And then we can feel confident that we don't want to present too early and then have people saying that we jumped the gun. So I think December would probably be good.
I would tend to
We
agree.
can kind of give people a heads up in this when we're talking about homeless prevention and eviction diversion. Like, we're going to look at the numbers in the next meeting. So that's coming.
Colin,
Yes, sir.
just a question on what you put in the chat. It set the agenda for December, right?
I'm just putting on, yeah, we need to do the November agenda, but we're doing request for homeless service assistance data report in December. I'm just putting it down so we don't forget it.
No, I meant for what you have in chat,
Mhm.
set the agenda for October,
Yeah, it's supposed to be for November.
for November. Okay, I was just, okay, I'm having, this is,
Yeah, I just forgot to change the,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, we're in November. God almighty, I'm sorry, y'all. I have lost a month. I
No, you're
really have.
fine.
I've lost a month.
I had a bunch of brain fog last night at 7:30 when I was doing it, so I apologize.
No, I was thinking we were setting the agenda for December, and it is November. Yeah, I'm really having a blind moment. Excuse me, hopefully my lines are online, sorry.
Too late.
All right,
Too late.
so we can do a brief presentation on the eviction prevention and homeless prevention. We do have a performance management update. Jonathan?
Oh, yeah, there's plenty to talk about.
All right, how much time would you like to talk?
5 minutes.
There's plenty to talk about. Just give me 5 minutes.
Oh, wow, Jonathan, that's real cool. 5 minutes.
I try to be brief to the point.
Okay.
Yes, I'm hoping my homeless prevention will be in the 5 to 7 minute piece and then, 10 minutes or so of discussion.
Let me
if
be
needed.
very, very busy, in terms of evaluating applications. So that's what I meant when we said we have plenty to talk about.
Colin, can you scroll your screen up for one moment, please? I'm
Sir,
sorry, down.
Yep.
There we
This
go.
is, yeah, this is the October stuff here.
Okay, and we've done that, right?
We did that one, so now
Okay,
we're
so we're in
planning
November, okay.
with the November. And then
Okay.
if we have things that we want to punt, we punt them out to December, January. One of the other things that came to our attention, and Ruby, you were the one who got the email, but we as a team need to talk this through. So Angel, would it be all right if Ruby shared with us
Sure.
the request that came from the city clerk's office?
By all means.
Okay, Ruby?
Hello. So at the last city council meeting, it was recommended that all of the boards and commissions and task forces that are appointed by the city would return to in-person meetings in January of 2022. So the city clerk's office sent out an email requesting us to send out a survey to our members to see what the membership would think about either returning to in-person meetings or remaining virtual. Some caveats to this, we can send out a survey, we can get a poll from our group. The caveat to all of this is I don't believe we have any guidance from the county about should we return to in-person or virtual. We are a joint board. We have city and county appointed folks. We only have 3 members of the HSAC that are actually appointed by the city. So if they did want to return to in-person, those votes would only be from 3 people who are appointed by the city. Another part is if we were to return to in-person, our regular meeting space is currently the vaccination room for the county. We would have to find another location to meet in person. My question for the group, for the exec committee is, would you all like to send out the survey? Well, I need to send out the survey regardless, but how to go about doing it, and just so that you all can know that this is something that at least the city is considering.
Last night in the implementation meeting, they had, I think we're gonna go on in that meeting, we're gonna just stay with virtual because it's a rather large group and it's not really space for social distancing. And I think it's kind of like with this group as well. How do you all feel about continuing virtual?
So since I am a county employee, my ability to attend meetings, whether it's virtual or in person, is really dictated by the county's COVID policy. And so, my guidance, is going to come from them. I would hate for things to move back to person, but then I couldn't attend and would have to continue to attend virtually. So I feel like it's not really my call. It's really going to be my employer, the county's call.
Thank you
Okay.
for that, Jonathan. I wanted to add, when you mentioned that you would have to, if we were in person, you would have to attend virtually. The other caveat to that was that the city said they could not have hybrid meetings. So there couldn't be in person and also a virtual way as well. And I don't know why I have to go get some more guidance on that. So we couldn't have it, some people in person, some people virtual, if that makes any sense. So we have to be all in person or all virtual.
I think if we are gonna do the survey, we need to make that like part of the language of the survey, so that, because I think people probably are just thinking about what they personally prefer, but if they know that if their preference is to be in person, everyone has to be in person, I think that might change some people's opinion about what they want to do.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. This is Lloyd. If I could chime in as well, I think the Homeless Services Advisory Committee is not strictly speaking a city committee. As we just mentioned, it only has 3 members appointed by the city council, and it is really a joint city and Durham County organized committee, and it also serves as the COC board. So I think that those realities kind of complicate how the decision is made to whether the committee follows guidance from the city administration or Durham County administration, or a combination of the two.
I feel like this decision, I know there's just the question of the survey, but I feel like really this decision probably is not this group's to make. It really is, I think, conversations to be had by, between the commissioners, the city council, the city manager, the county manager. I think, that's where all the COVID policies are being dictated, correct?
I think you're right, Jonathan. And I think Ruby, because we run in that weird gray zone we kind of report to the city clerk and to some degree the county clerk at one point, but really the city does this. So it sounds like the city's just trying to get a pulse on this, and the HSAC follows the public meeting rules. And I think that's perhaps why we need to just sort of answer the question. And I don't know that there is a must go in person, or if it's we just want to know which direction people are headed and going. And a discussion, there's a couple ways you could go. We could send a survey, or we could have a discussion at the HSAC. And at the HSAC, we would have the mayor and a county commissioner there who could sort of weigh in on that front. And then, the survey could be a simple vote. Which way do we want to go? And I can get some further clarification from Reginald on it as well. But just other things to think about. And I see Sharita has her hand up. So Sharita, sorry for jumping in there.
I put my responses in the chat box because you guys were moving on. So I just put all I know is that Lincoln right now is not doing any in-person meetings amongst staff. We are still practicing social distance, and all our meetings are virtual. 9 times out of 10, that means that any other meetings I would do they would probably want me to continue that virtual position until I'm an essential worker. They want me to be available to see patients. So I would vote for virtual if it's an option. And then my second question was with the mayor, the changes with mayoral leadership, will this be rescinded?
Will what be rescinded? The
The
survey?
request about in-person meetings, could that change?
I will use the standard COVID response. With everything COVID, it could change.
Gotcha.
It's COVID.
I
You
don't
never
know
know.
if it's necessarily a request. It was more of a recommendation because I know city council has been trying to move back to in-person meetings. But also a lot of boards and commissions, and maybe they're smaller boards, are trying to return to in-person. And so they're trying to get a pulse on how to make this policy for everyone. And it was a recommendation to return to in-person, but I don't think it's been a mandate yet.
Yeah, me either. I think it's gonna stay virtual for a minute.
And I didn't put anything out there about logistics or administrative functions, but administrative wise and minutes wise and attendance wise, virtual is just so much better.
Well, it doesn't seem like there's any harm in just asking people what they think, right? I mean, what's the downside of just
Right. And I at least wanted to bring this to the exec committee. So if we did want to do something with the wider HSAC, you all would be aware of what's happening in the city stratosphere.
I think Sharita and Jonathan raised two really interesting points, in my mind at least, is even if the city said we're going back to in-person meetings, there may be employers who would prohibit people from attending an in-person meeting because of their internal, their internal guidelines that they have for their employees stating all meetings for all employees must be virtual until social distancing is no longer needed. And that could be problematic for not just Jonathan Sharita, but there could be others who have employers who have similar, requirements of their staff. Is it, I guess the question in my mind, the question in my mind is it worth a conversation at the HSAC level to kind of talk it through and debate it so that we can respond with a well thought out answer? Or do we want to just do a simple survey and return that information? That's why I put it up here as a piece. Go ahead, Angel.
Oh, I was saying, well, I mean, I guess it's good for everyone to chime in their opinion since this is going to be each and every individual. I mean, is there a way that we could have that in the meeting next week? Or you bring that up as, I guess, can you take a vote on it or whatever? How would you go about doing that? Just have them do a survey?
Well, I think you could, yes, if you wanted to have a discussion and then have a vote on what the recommendation of the HSAC would be of staying in person or going back, we could do it that way. The executive committee could make a recommendation and bring the recommendation that we want to go in person, or the executive committee would like to stay virtual, and then have a discussion from that vantage point and then have a vote. And the vote could serve as the survey.
And what I would add to that is what we also need to consider is if we decide, to return, that is an open meeting. So, not only will we have to make sure we have appropriate social distancing for the HSAC membership, we will also have to be prepared for how many people may decide they want to show up to the meeting and
Mhm.
have whatever, precautions in place and procedures in place in order to do so. So I think it does warrant a discussion for HSAC, so we can talk through all of the logistical things that would entail us returning to meeting in person.
Hear me?
Yes, Angela.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm personally, because I just got a report yesterday, and this was about another meeting, where someone actually showed up. These meetings scare me because you never know where everyone else has been. And, someone had a situation, and someone actually went to the meeting knowing full well they weren't feeling well. And so it's stuff like that that kind of scares me, even when I'm in church. I'm in the pulpit, and I'm still like, hey, can we just go ahead and give God a hand praise and walk out the door? Because you just don't know where everybody else has been, and some people are not taking this stuff seriously, and it just scares me. And I'll tell anyone, I have one kidney, and it's not mine, but I'm trying to keep it as long as I can. Stuff like this scares me.
That's true. That's true, Dr. Angela. Because people don't, you don't know, people have not been getting tested and saying they have, and you out around people, they're not taking this seriously as it should be. I understand how you feel on that one.
It brings up also other logistical questions too. So, I mean, let's say hypothetically, we did actually return to in-person. One, it sounds like we got to figure out where it's going to be. Two, are we going to need like people to be doing like temperature check? Like, are we going to have like an extra supply of masks in case people don't show up? Do we have to plan for a little bit more security if people don't want to comply with the mask? I think you got a whole bunch of other logistical things there that have to be taken into account too.
Right, even taking temperatures when you first come in it's a lot. I think we should just stay virtual.
So it sounds like, so if I'm hearing everybody correctly, it's better for us to leave it as an agenda item for some level of discussion at the HSAC meeting? Is that the consensus of the group?
I think so.
Yes,
Okay.
for me.
Okay, so maybe we should make this because I think there's a lot to talk through with this. Is 15 to 20 minutes enough, or do you think we're going to need 30 minutes to get through that?
15 to 20 should be good. I mean, if everyone just says what they got to say and move on. And some people won't have any opinion at all.
I see the value of this being on the agenda as kind of alerting the higher up leadership of the county and the city that, hey, this is starting to be requested by citizens. So we know that really what's going to happen is that this is going to be decided by, the leadership of the county and the leadership of the city. So I see the value of this as more informing those folks that are on the committee, as well as getting some, a little bit of feedback.
Leave it on the committee, leave it on the agenda, eviction prevention. Other agenda items that you all think we need or should put on the agenda?
Do y'all want me to come back and finish the coordinated entry presentation from last month? It's totally fine if you don't. I just wanted to check in.
I would certainly love to see the rest of it.
I think that's where we left it at the end of the last meeting, was that you'd come back and finish it.
How much was left on that, Hanalea?
Well, it's the entire, I mean, I stopped it at the natural stopping point, which was it's what's left is the entire section on the new process. If there's time, I think it would be really nice if, given the amount of discussion last time, 30 minutes, if we can have it, I think is what's needed. So I can actually take questions and things, but yes, 45 even, there's always lots of questions when it comes to coordinated entry, but I can also just like not take questions during the presentation if we don't have time.
So they've changed it now for, they have new procedures now for coordinated entry now.
So to clarify, it's we, not they, it's a Durham, it's a Durham level decision. We decided we were going to make changes. So we went through a whole policy and planning, created a subcommittee, and I worked with them through the spring and summer to develop a new process and new policies for how we prioritize people for housing. And we're currently piloting that process.
Sounds good.
And we'll have updates on how that process, on that piloting is going, correct, Hanalea?
Well, that's a good question. We will not have data. I mean, we can have anecdotal updates, but we won't. I don't think we're not housing enough people to have meaningful data, like the kinds of things like racial equity and predictive validity and things until the spring. But I can certainly share anecdotal information about how it's going so far, in my opinion, and anyone else who wants to chime in about their opinion.
One thing that is starting up and maybe worth doing in December would be talking to Housing for New Hope. They've got some funding and are trying to do some landlord work. Is that something that we would want to see if they might want to come and do a presentation on what it is they're doing and what they can and what they can't do for the community on some funding they've received?
That funding is almost over. It would be, I think at this point, it would probably be more appropriate to have them when the funding ends come in, because we're in the tail end of that funding. The funding ends in February. So I think it would be a little bit weird to have it like, here's what we can do in the last like month or two of what they are doing. But we could certainly have them come in February or March and present on how it went, what worked and what didn't work. But I also don't, I mean, they've presented to the providers on the funding options. I'm not sure they want to be more public about it than that, because you know, they want to make sure they have actual participants and things. They've been very careful about who they partnered with. So I think probably the preference would be like, here's what worked and here's what our recommendation would be in terms of taking this more to a local funding level. But that also reminds me about something else I was going to offer, maybe, and I could also incorporate this into my coordinated entry presentation if there's interest in it. But we are finally starting to issue emergency housing vouchers. So I thought y'all might want an update on what's happening with the emergency housing vouchers and also with the housing choice vouchers, which DHA has put a pause on issuing housing choice vouchers as they move into processing EHVs. So we could either do that in November or December. That's another thing that I thought maybe y'all would want an update on. I know I gave one.
Repeat that. I'm confused, Hanalea. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So let me back up a little bit and explain what these are. So the housing choice vouchers, you know, I think we know what those are. Those are kind of the standard Section 8 vouchers that help with rental assistance from the Housing Authority. The emergency housing vouchers are the 68 vouchers that were issued to Durham through funding from the CARES Act. And these are vouchers that are specifically earmarked for people experiencing homelessness. And they're a little different from HCVs in ways that there's some that are good for us and some that are not so good for us. So the way that is different, that is not so good for us, is these are not permanent vouchers, they're 10-year vouchers. But then there's a lot that's really good about them. So There's a bunch of waivers that reduce the documentation requirements on the front end and allow for self-certification to speed up application processes. The normal DHA policy is that you can't port your voucher out to another housing authority within your first year. These vouchers mandate that you can port immediately, which gives us more housing options. The payment standard is higher. They can go up to 120% of the fair market rent. So there's a number of ways in which they're different and more flexible than the regular vouchers. So what's happening now is that DHA has put a pause on processing any more housing choice voucher referrals from the COC in order to start processing these emergency housing vouchers. And so the what's going on now is our plan. Me and DHA have set a goal of 25 issuing, or at least processing 25 EHVs this month. So hopefully we'll have a number of people who are actually receiving their vouchers in the next month. And the plan, the normal DHA processing time was 60 days before COVID. Right now it's 90 days once you submit your eligibility packet. The plan with these vouchers is to have decisions on issuing within 2 weeks of submission. So it's going to be a much faster process.
And DHA is putting out an RFP but we should probably talk about that too, Hanale, if we have the details.
Yeah, I think if we want to talk about the RFP, we may want to punt this till December, because I don't really want to talk about it until it's actually out and we can show it to people. But I mean, I can talk about it briefly, but I don't want to talk about it in detail until their final thing has been published. So if we want to just brief hey, heads up, there's an RFP coming out for services, then certainly. But if we want more detailed information on the RFP, I think that would be wise to probably wait till December when the RFP, or actually, I mean, the RFP may be out. I forgot. I mean, we've got till the end of the month. So although this meeting is early in the month, right, because of Thanksgiving. So I don't know. The bottom line is I don't know whether the RFP is going to be out. It may be out. It's unclear at this point. So I can kind of talk in broad strokes, but won't be able to give detail if the RFP is not actually out.
Well, maybe we can check with DHA and see if there's any publicity we wanted, if we can help them publicize that it's coming out, because a lot of our HSAC members may be the ones with the best skill sets to help meet those needs. And if we can, even if it's not out, if there's something that they want us to sort of pre-publicize that something's coming, if there's a way to do that.
Sure. I mean, I can ask them I mean, we have a plan that once it goes out, we'll send it out to the COC. I don't know about the question about pre-publicity. I can ask, but it's.
Yeah, I don't know. In my mind, it might be worth the ask to get people.
Sure,
to start thinking about
I can ask them. I just am cognizant of the fact that it's not our RFP. So
right, and that's what I'm.
But yes, I can ask them.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is there someone that you can ask to get that information out? How long has this been in existence?
Well, the EHVs were created in the last CARES Act, which was, when was that?
It was in July.
But wait, no, the CARES Act wasn't in July. The EHVs hit in July.
Right.
The last CARES Act was, what was that, March, I think? And then the EHVs were actually issued to us in July. But we have been trying to stand up service requirements around the HVs, which is why we haven't started issuing them. But then DHA finally just decided that they were going to move forward without the contracting with the services, because they have money that they're getting for these, and if it doesn't get used, it'll get recaptured. So that's kind of where the decision to start moving forward without the contracted services came.
You said DHA has money?
Yeah, they're getting money for these vouchers.
These vouchers are emergency housing vouchers, and there were financial incentives given to housing authorities who were able to get these into people's hands and get them to lease up. And essentially, if they had 100% or X% of vouchers issued and leased up in a certain time frame, they would get sort of bonus money as an incentive for expeditiously issuing the vouchers and helping people to get into units. So I think that's
And
where
they applied for it.
they
don't
had,
they don't do a good job at helping people get into units.
So
They
it's not
absolutely don't at
yeah.
all. No way. I want to know what happened to the 40 vouchers that were out a few months ago. How many people in that 40 got leased up?
Yeah, and that's part of what I was thinking I could present on Sharita as like an update on our HCVs as well, because I know I presented on that a while ago, and I could give an update in terms of where we're at in terms of those vouchers. To answer your question about application, they didn't apply. The way the process worked was they were offered a certain number of vouchers and then they had to accept or decline them. So with our ask, we asked them to accept the vouchers.
So they accepted, so then I would say they actually accepted them because we have a huge problem here. Right now, I have people with vouchers right now on the brink of losing their vouchers, and there's so many things that DHA can't even do in the process. So it just amazes my brain that they would accept them. I understand why, because we need housing. We need to be able to house people, but we don't have inventory. We don't have landlords, and they are not generating more landlords.
I hear you. I mean, I'm in agreement. We're going to try with them, but it's going to be tough. I mean, I'm hoping that the payment standard increasing is going to help us. But we'll see.
if we're going to do a DHA report, it may be worthwhile inviting DHA to be part of that presentation or make the presentation.
I was thinking I would talk to Kishma about co-presenting with me.
In December, and do something in December where they can give the HSAC an update on where they are with the regular housing vouchers, the emergency housing vouchers, RFPs, where they are on implementing the homeless prioritization for their public housing, and sort of making a formal report to the HSAC as a request. It may prompt them, not that it's necessarily going to make them do some things, but it may sort of help remind them that there's a lot of eyes on this and may help push it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if we want a presentation on the public housing implementation, which we've requested many times before and have never gotten actually anyone to come out, but then that would need to be Danita, not Kishma, because Kishma's only on the voucher side. So I can ask Danita, see what she says.
I'm kind of thinking we may need to bring Reginald into that to sort of help pull it together, but we can deal with that. The question is, does the committee feel that a DHA update is something we would want to explore in December so that we can start working on that?
I think that DHA is probably one of our biggest partners in ending our population of people's homelessness. Whenever we can get a report from DHA, we should get it. Because I mean, I know they're a separate entity, but we have to become collaborative on this thing around housing. We have to, because otherwise we're just gonna be treading in the water. That's what we're doing right now. I mean, before it was there was stop, but there were no vouchers. Now is vouchers galore and there's no stop. So I mean, we should always be in partnership because they're going to be our go-to resource for a lot of our people. So I don't know what we need to do to make that partnership. I mean, I feel like they get attacked when they come, but I think the reason why they get attacked is because they do all this stuff on the side instead of in collaboration with the community. So that's why it's like that. If you keep hiding, when you come out, everybody's going to come for you. But if you are a partner in the process, it changes the dynamic and the feel of, just of the process, period. They have enough things on their plate with all of the
Yeah.
stuff that's going on with all the other public housing units
Yeah.
and the repairs and all that. It's got to be a way to shift this. So I don't know what we do to try to get them comfortable with being present and partnering, but we need to do something.
So who would y'all suggest come out? Ben himself?
I-
Or who?
I think this is going to be something that we're going to need to run through Reginald at our department and get his guidance on, because he's more intimately involved with DHA and all of the layers of politics involved with this, and sort of figure out if this is a Anthony Scott or a Danita or a Kishma or a group of folks coming, and then sort of help figure out what it is. We need to be clear on what we want. And the question is, do we want an update on everything that they do that we feel impacts the homeless system, so we can be clear with what we're asking them to do? Do we want them to come and say, here are the things that we would like assistance from the homeless system, or how we think we could partner best with the homeless system, to sort of open that kind of connectivity that could be taken to policy and planning to figure out the, how to better connect stuff, or have partner agencies reach out directly to housing authority to figure out details. I don't know the answers to these. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, because they're going to want guidance on what is it that they're coming to present, and so that we're clear with what we want to hear.
So is there a list of some sort, because I've been out the loom, of questions? What are the top, like the top, not even 10, top 20 questions that are most concerned when it comes to the HSAC and collaborating with DHA? So is there like the main questions that you can have to ask them to speak on? So, I know they said they probably do come out feeling like they're attacked because there's so much going on with DHA, but yeah, I guess something like that. Would that help? And their
I think-
invitation to them?
I think so, Angel, and I think Sharita sort of said the same thing in her
Oh,
chat, was sort of putting together a list of questions that the group would like answered. And maybe that's what we put on the November, if there's time, that we'll be sending out a request for information HSAC would like from DHA.
And then we can group it with like themes, and then they'll have their guidance. And so they'll be coming answering the questions that we have, so they won't be bombarded with, they still may get some questions, but I think if we preemptively kind of poll our group, we can get an idea of things that people want to know.
understood.
And I think it may be difficult for people to think of questions on the spot. So do we want to just make this as an announcement that we'll be sending out a questionnaire, and for everybody to keep their eyes open for it?
And then we're presenting.
I think, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think if we have time, I think we open it up for anybody who has questions on the fly. Cause like somebody like me, I want to be ready with my questions. I'm going to be ready, but my questions may elicit questions from other people. So that's why I say maybe we do have a short, just kind of fire of questions that people have. And then we maybe give people a week to respond to an email or something for people who maybe didn't ask a question. And then we get that to them. And then that gives them like 3 weeks to get ready.
That's good.
That sounds like that work. Good ideas, Sharita and Angel. So I'll put it on the agenda for like a 10 to 15 minutes. And since let's think how we could do this, because people could also, as we're going through the meeting, put questions in the Zoom chat, and we can pull those as well.
Yeah, we could actually do it like that. We could do it like that. Maybe ask the question early on in the meeting.
Uh-huh.
And
as you're,
then let people just put them in there, then y'all can go back later and pull them, and then still give them like maybe the extra week if somebody has some other question.
So I want to just flag that I think if we want to have like a big presentation from DHA, I think that's a different presentation than me just presenting on like how we're doing in terms of lease up with vouchers and like what we're doing with the HVs. So I don't know if maybe we want that in November while we're talking about questions for DHA. Maybe that's the prompt. I don't know, but I think those like me just telling y'all like how many of our vouchers have leased up, and so I think that's kind of a different presentation.
Yes, I agree with
That
you.
would be a
Those are-
great opener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think, Honolulu, with what you know about what you were saying about DHA and what they already know, those questions would be put in the chat and then be better to be answered in December's meeting?
Yeah, I think that maybe like I could give a real brief, the same way I did, I don't remember, maybe in the spring or something, just like a real brief update on kind of where we're at with vouchers. And that maybe is the prompter for everyone's questions for DHA. Maybe that's just like to get people's thoughts going. Maybe that's the way to do it. But yes, I mean, I can answer questions that are within my scope, but I think a lot of the questions.
And so then maybe, Colin, this can be shorter because the questions won't need a time because they'll just be floating. They'll be floating in here. So maybe the presentation is Hanalea giving us the housing choice voucher update and then saying we're also planning for a report back from DHA. We want to find out what questions you have that you would like DHA to answer. Please put your questions in the chat box, and you have up to a week to get information to wherever. So maybe it's not 10 to 15 minutes because I'm looking at the time that you already have allotted, and it's getting tight.
You're already at an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half already.
So maybe Hanalea's presentation is like 5 minutes, and then the questions are floating in the chat box.
Yeah, so if I'm just gonna present on housing choice vouchers, I can do that in 5. If I'm gonna also give just an overview of what we're doing with EHVs, and I need 10. So it's really just up to y'all. I mean, we can shorten that coordinated entry, presentation to 30 or 30. But it just depends on what y'all want me to present on.
Because you're presenting 3 different topics, right?
Well, the vouchers and the EHVs to me are one presentation because like I want to explain here's where we're at with the vouchers and the kind of like transition that into, and here's where we're going with the EHVs. And I think I'll just need 5 minutes on each. But like I said, we could also not talk about EHVs and just punt that to DHA, but it might be nice to give people just an overview of what we're doing. And at that point, we'll probably have issued a couple, hopefully at least 15 EHVs. So it'd be nice to let people know that.
What if we simplified the update on HCVs and just sort of looked at it as, rather than differentiating between EHVs and HCVs, talk about our utilization rate on the total amount. And then at the DHA presentation, we can get into the nuanced HCV, EHVs, public housing units, all of that. Because
I don't want to confuse people. I think we need to be clear with the community that these are 2 completely different programs. I don't want to talk about HCVs and HVs like in numbers together because they're not the same thing. They don't operate the same way. And DHA has been very clear that they're different programs, and we need to say EHVs when we mean EHVs. I think it's just a question of, do we want to explain the EHV program in November, or do we want to wait till December? I mean, I think that's just the bottom line. If we're going to talk about EHVs, we should explain the program and explain what's happening with it. If we don't have time for that, or we want to punt it till December, that's totally fine. And I can just give an update on HCVs, but they are 2 different programs, and I think we need to be clear about that.
Yeah, because it's helping me.
Since I think it would be wise of us to do the EHV piece in partnership with DHA, because that is an area where we are regulatorily, by rule, DHA must partner with the COC. Like they cannot do this in absence of the continuum of care. So I think it would be better for us to sort of do that as a joint venture to show that, yes, we haven't always had the best working relationship, but we are moving in that direction. And here's the first piece of this. Let us explain how this works. Here's what the COC does. DHA can share what they're doing and how the two tie together. So let's just do the regular HCVs in November. Then we can talk the EHVs in December, along with all the other pieces.
I think that's fine if we want to go that route, just to play devil's advocate. If we want to generate questions, people need to know that the HVs exist to be able to generate questions about them. So just another thought, another point of view.
We talked about EHVs at one of the meetings in the past. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, my
just-
thinking is I'll just give an overview on what the program is, and then we can go into depth on it in December.
I just want to make sure you don't run out of time on the coordinated entry piece, because going into. a
Yeah,
new
I mean, I think we can cut the coordinated entry one down. I think, 35 minutes is probably 30 or 35 is sufficient for that. Because I've presented all the data. This is just the new system.
So I mean, you're going to need to sort of do like a 5-minute speaking and 5-minute questions on the HCVs to get through it all. And we'll need to sort of stick to the time. Otherwise, we're going to run out.
I'll just do a real brief overview on the EHVs just to, and we'll let folks know that there'll be opportunity for questions in December. And we just wanted to let people know that this program is being operated in Durham so that they can think about the questions they want to ask DHA. We can just frame it that way.
Yep. Oh, sorry, you said Durham and I was like, all right, there we go. So it sounds like we have an agenda.
And the other
anything-
thing is DHA is creating a handout for me to send to the providers about the EHV, so we can also send that to the HSAC as well, so people can read in more depth about the EHVs if they're interested.
All right, I need to jump to my 11 o'clock meeting. Do we have anything else on our agenda, Angel? Do you all want to continue meeting? I need to step out. You're muted, Angel. Oh, there
Have
you
we, I'm sorry, have we covered everything? Is there anything else anyone needs to add to it? Honolata, Sharita, Jonathan, Lloyd? Okay, Sharita says she has to leave. Colin, you have to leave. Honolata, is there anything else you need to ask, or Lloyd or Ruby?
I'm good, thanks, Angel.
I'm good as well.
I think we got it all done then.
Okay, Dr. Angela, you good?
I'm fine as wine on a crispy day.
Okay, so,
There were other items on the agenda for today's meeting, but those can be postponed.
what were those?
The agenda in the chat for the meeting suggested setting the agenda, a performance management update, ESG, EGCB homeless.
Those were kind of what my draft for the agenda for the meeting, for the November meeting were, Lloyd.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
misunderstood then.
Yep,
Yeah,
no problem.
Okay, so it looks like we got a agenda for next week.
So I think,
Meeting, so a week after next, right? November 17th?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 weeks.
Madam Chair, when you're ready, you can ask for motion to adjourn and
Okay, well, I'll have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I motion that we adjourn. This is Jonathan.
That's anyone second?
I second.
gonna say, I think Angela,
Yes.
you're the only one who can second at this point. First, I
So-
think I like preempt you a little bit. I know that you are like the epic adjourner of meetings. So
Hey. Okay,
I think you're good, Miss Angel.
well, thank you much, everyone. I got one in and the nerves are gone, butterflies are gone. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. If you
All
see
right.
anybody on the street, give them a hat, a scarf, please. It's cold out there, y'all.
Yeah.
have a great
Have a
Great
great
job.
weekend.
Thank you all.
Bye.